Welcome to the Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community, a space where justice meets action and community voices rise. Each episode, we bring you stories from the front lines, changemakers, disruptors, and everyday heroes who are building a more just, equitable, and liberated world. This is more than a podcast. It's a call to listen, learn, and move together. You were just listening to music from the incredibly talented Stephen Kong. You can find him on Spotify and Bandcamp. Today we have with us Morgan DeNicola. Morgan is the Executive Director of the DeNicola Family Foundation, where she leads initiatives focused on global health, humanitarian work, conservation, and cultural diplomacy. She also serves as Vice Chairman of the Humpty Dumpty Institute, working alongside leaders from government, international organizations, and communities around the world to address critical global issues. Through her humanitarian efforts, Morgan has supported projects across Africa, including the creation of the Cosmo Cares mobile healthcare van to expand access to medical care in underserved communities. She is also involved with the Steinberg DeNicola Humanitarian Awards, recognizing NFL players for their community impact, and serves on the board of Elmwood Park Zoo, where she advocates for wildlife conservation and environmental education. Okay, well, hi, Morgan. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today on this platform. I'm really excited and grateful to have you here and just share more about your journey and your experience. But how are you doing today?
Good. East Coast, it's sunny. It finally stopped raining, so I have no complaints.
Oh, isn't that good? You know, over here in California, it's been hot, but then cold. So yeah, we get the same way. Like it's like 90 degrees one day and the next day it's raining. It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, we had like 5 days of just rain and misery. So,
no.
I mean, it was great for the garden, but
Yeah. No.
I don't like being stuck inside once the weather gets
No,
nice.
I heard over on the East Coast because I have my sister living out there, and I heard you all had like terrible like snowstorms and stuff during the winters. So hopefully it's gotten better.
Yes. Yeah, the snow was bad this year, but it's definitely
Okay.
maybe we'll get lucky and won't be so bad this winter. We wrote it out, so we'll
Okay.
see.
Great. No, thank you. But you know, like I was saying, I'm excited to hear more about your journey and your work. So just to start off, you describe yourself as the daughter of serial entrepreneurs who ultimately found your calling in philanthropy. So can you please share your journey and how your upbringing shaped your worldview?
Yeah. So, like I said, my parents were serial entrepreneurs as
Mm-hmm.
far back as I can remember. Our playtime was in the office. In off
Okay.
hours, me and my brother would race like, the wheelie chairs and play with the Xerox machines and the intercoms. So we grew up kind of seeing our parents working day in, day out, even on the weekends, kind of thing, and really instilled that work ethic that if you really wanted something, you have to give it your all.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did the normal teenage thing. I'll never work for my parents.
Right.
There's no way. Went away to college, ended up coming back, and
Okay.
lo and behold, I ended up in marketing for my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I always felt like something was kind of drastically missing in my life. And
Okay.
I was lucky enough, my dad was invited to go to Africa for something else that he was working on that I never knew he was a part of.
Okay.
And he said, I can't go. I need you to go to Africa for me. And
Oh.
this was the most bizarre request. I was like, what kind of marketing?
Mm-hmm.
We have a software company in the United States. I'm very lost. And he goes, no, it's something completely different. And I think you'll enjoy it. So I went to Africa with this NGO that works with different groups of government.
Okay.
And I went to an orphanage to kind of see what was going on in that orphanage in that part of Africa because they were having issues with um, the locals trying to take the children out of the
Mm-hmm.
orphanage. So they were asking the local government to kind of step in and stop that from happening. But through the course of that, I met these children that were just the most inspiring, incredible children that had so much joy despite everything they've
Okay.
been through. Um, and I met a little girl, her name was Comfort, and she was 2 years old and never smiled. So without thinking, I picked her up, and
Mhm.
she was like staring at my hair, blonde, white woman in front of her.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, she's never seen blonde hair. So I
Mm.
took my hair out of a ponytail and kind of rubbed it on her face, and she smiled.
Oh.
And in that moment, I had just this like, my soul caught fire. It was just this
Mhm.
incredible moment that I managed to make somebody feel good and seen, and I'm holding her, and we didn't speak a word to each other.
Okay.
But she changed my life, and I went back to Philadelphia, and I said to my parents, I'm leaving.
Mhm.
And they were like, what do you mean you're leaving? And I said, I can't do this anymore. I feel like my life, I need to be doing more, and I don't know what that means. So I left to go become a vet tech. I thought maybe
Mhm.
it had to do with animals. And while I was gone, that group that I went with to Africa kept asking my father, where's your daughter?
Okay.
And I didn't realize I had made an impression on them as well. And my parents sat me down and they said, well, what is it that you want to do? And I said, I want to save the world.
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
and I said, I don't know what that means or what that looks
Mhm.
like. And they said, well, we want to help you. And we've been so blessed as a family, having so many great companies and employees, that we want to create something that gives back. So it started out as Cosmo Cares. My dad's name's Cosmo. That
Okay.
was this little unofficial thing. And through the course of my own self education and meeting these different groups and awesome people that run their own charities and philanthropic endeavors, we
Mhm.
figured out how to make a larger official foundation. And then that was the birth of the DeNicola Family Foundation. And
Mhm.
it was kind of awesome because I've been able to merge the worlds of business with
Uh-huh.
the world of philanthropy and kind of create something that's very unique. And I continue to learn with every person that I meet how they do things, and if there's ways
Mhm.
for us to work together or incorporate that into the pillars that our family foundation kind of focuses on. Um, but yeah, I did not set out thinking, hey, I want to be a philanthropist. No, I
Yeah.
was everything but for a very long time. And I think the universe just kind of pulls you where it needs you. And I finally feel like I'm
Mhm.
where I should be. And I just want to keep growing and keep learning.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And actually, thank you for bringing that up. I actually wanted to talk about the DeNicola Family Foundation and also like the pillars. So you said that it's centered around four passions. So it's world health, humanitarian recognition, conservation, and cultural diplomacy. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you. How do these pillars intersect with each other?
Well, a lot of people see that and they're like, that is so much. But I'm trying to represent my family as a whole and
Okay.
kind of incorporate the things my parents were doing before the foundation was started.
Hmm.
And my parents were in mobile technology and healthcare.
Okay.
So healthcare was always such a big thing in our family, and how to help as many people as we could and to make things
Mm-hmm.
accessible for everybody. So health continues to be such an important thing, and especially near and dear to me because I I also think mental health falls into those categories, and
Hmm.
we really believe if you don't have a healthy body, healthy mind, it's
Right.
very hard for you to be the best version of yourself and to contribute to the people around you and the world around you. So global health has touched every member of my family, and is still incredibly important to us. And
Yeah.
that kind of added to the creation of conservation, because if you don't have a healthy environment, you're not going to have a
Hmm.
healthy body or a healthy mind. So conservation also became very important. That was one pillar that I pushed very hard for because of the connection to global health. And then humanitarian recognition. My dad is still heavily involved in sports. We
Okay.
used to be one of the owners of the Philadelphia Arena football team, the Philadelphia Soul. So he's always been involved in the football world, and we started a Humanitarian Recognition Award with Lee Steinberg at the Steinberg Super Bowl party. And that's where you recognize different players, front staff, coaches that are
Okay.
doing great charitable work and kind of acknowledging all the things that they're doing in their world. And then cultural diplomacy was one that I also pushed very hard for, cultural diplomacy, because
Mhm.
our family, my grandfather came over from Italy.
Okay.
We were based off of immigrants and learning different cultures. We truly believe you learn about yourself, but you also then learn about why people are the way they are,
Mhm.
in terms of their thinking, their mannerisms, and their behaviors. If we had a better understanding of individuals' cultures, we could be
Right.
better leaders, we could be better neighbors, better
Mhm.
friends, spouses. So we really truly believe in elevating all these beautiful cultures around the world so we can be a little
Yeah.
bit better global citizens.
Right. No, I really love that. And I'd love to talk with you more about that connection between philanthropy as well as systemic change. So was there a defining moment when you realized that philanthropy was more than just charitable giving, but it can also be a pathway to creating systemic change?
Absolutely.
Mm,
I always thought that it was just financial giving or giving of time.
mm, yeah.
And I noticed the more you kind of study the issues around the world,
Right.
they've always kind of existed. And the way we've gone about trying to resolve them, very much, if you're just throwing money at them, are putting band-aids on a lot of these
Right.
issues.
Hmm.
And that it's a lot deeper than that. It needs to be thought out, it needs to be communal, and you really
Yeah.
need to notice what your neighbors are doing. And it's cultural changes, it's cultural shifts,
Right.
also, that help you not necessarily resolve but work more with a lot of these issues. Like I said, these issues have been around forever,
Right.
um, and especially when you try to just, again, throw money at things, a lot of those
Hmm.
programs get abandoned, or buildings and things like that. And I guess when you're studying kind of,
Hmm.
well, because I was teaching myself essentially,
Okay.
so I was studying a lot of this. I noticed that, and that philanthropy is so much more than just trying to give people money. It's
Right.
becoming part of communities and really hearing what people really want, because we can look at a community and say this is what they want, and until you get down
Right.
and really get involved in the community, you don't really know what it is that people
Hmm.
want. And sometimes your solutions aren't the proper solutions for what they're looking for. So, yeah, I think philanthropy
Yeah.
is a lot more complex than what, we give it credit for. But I think
Hmm.
that it's because of the past, ways. I like to call myself a next gen philanthropist. I'm trying
Okay.
to do it differently.
I
I'm
love
trying to
that.
be, yeah, like way more, a part of it, because I think people think rich people trying to just,
Hmm.
again, throw money at issues. And
Yeah.
I want people to view it much from a different lens, and that we need ideas. We need the
Yeah.
community. We need the people,
Right.
or it's not going to improve anything.
Yeah, no, I love that. And thank you so much for sharing your perspective. I think it's so wonderful because a little bit about me, I spent most of my professional career in the nonprofit sector. So, like, I know how important philanthropy is. Specifically, I work in, do work around communities in California. So I don't have that global perspective. But yeah, I think as I was a young professional, I entered into this sector thinking that the same thing. I thought it was just band-aids on situations where, I was like, oh, I really want to make a difference. And I was thinking more going into policy or whatever. But I think as I got deeper and got more training in community, I'm like, no, actually, nonprofit work is also contributing towards systemic change because, we're not just like, if a person's hungry, giving them food, but it's also like taking it a step further. Particularly the work that I was doing, I was really passionate about empowering young people of color and giving them leadership positions and how can we make a difference. So yeah, I really feel like it is that ecosystem. Like our work, we can't exist, without that philanthropy as well. So, it's just like,
It's
I
a,
feel like it's mutual, we work
it's
off
a
of each
part of
other.
the
Hmm.
evolutionary process. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
it's really, like you said, you can't just give people food. It's finding
Hmm.
the root issues and then
Right.
putting into place what is necessary for the next generation to
Yeah.
not have as much of an issue or to know how to resolve that. So it's definitely has a big hand in
Hmm.
how we grow as a culture. And the next generation is what we're always kind of thinking about, because
Yeah.
you don't want the same issue for the next generation, then you're not doing
Right.
your job.
Right. No, I really love that. And, next I'd love to talk with you more about like specific projects or initiatives if you'd like to share. So, what are some of the projects or initiatives that best illustrate your foundation's mission?
Well, right now abroad, we are doing
Hmm.
a grant program with the town that my grandfather grew up in.
Okay.
So it's a
Hmm.
very small town, and they're finding issues with the youth leaving.
Hmm.
And because of that, it's considered a dying town. I hate to use that term, but that's the
Okay.
terminology that other individuals might use for it. So we're trying to come up with grant opportunities to create programs to make the youth from other areas want to come and visit, to make
Hmm.
it a place that will kind of be revitalized, and also then helping local businesses, and again back to that cultural education of what my grandfather grew up with,
Hmm.
because even in those individual small towns, they're all so drastically different.
Hmm.
um, so that's a big one, and I'm really really hopeful for that the community will come together with all these different ideas that we can kind of help facilitate and
Hmm.
bring life back into this town. So that's a very big one. Another one is we have a mobile medical van that actually works with one of the sister orphanages,
Hmm.
to the one I had visited, and they're about to make a shift. They were basically doing like malaria netting and aspirin and food and giving it to the local communities, like villages around the orphanage. But it's about to take its next step and actually start doing vaccinations.
Hmm.
And that's huge. And I'm very, very excited for that, because not only are you taking care of the needs of basic care, food, netting. But
Right.
now they'll have a chance to learn more also about vaccines, and
Okay.
hopefully kind of combat some of the issues that these small villages, aren't really
Hmm.
aware of, that things like vaccines exist. So that mobile medical van, since its inception, it's been around for a few years, but taking that next step,
Okay.
I'm thrilled about. And in the United States, we do a
Hmm.
lot of food pantry programs. Um, I love doing them because, again,
Hmm.
you get to see a little bit more of the needs. But we also work with a group, actually called God Feeds, and they're
Okay.
about fresh produce and
Oh,
getting
okay.
fresh produce to low income families or even the homeless, so they have a better idea of nutrition and how that can help a lot of health issues, and give you mental clarity, your gut health.
Hmm.
We absolutely love working with them because we think that that's a huge educational program as well.
Hmm.
um, and the next big thing that we started, and I'm hoping to
Hmm.
grow, it's called the Bright Light Award. And we
Okay.
basically find young children that are off on their own, coming up with these great ideas to serve their community.
Hmm.
We did one with a child that was bringing new pajamas to hospitals for the kids, so
Oh,
they get to pick, which superhero they want to be. And
okay.
so we find children that are just off naturally doing these things. And then we go into
Hmm.
their school with a plaque,
I love
and we have a
that.
big assembly. We make a big deal about it, cheering
Yeah,
for these kids to try to make caring cool,
I love that.
essentially, and encouraging these other kids and saying, hey, next year we might acknowledge you. And we give the kids some money to go towards whatever it is that they're doing. So if it is the pajamas, then they have
Okay.
some money to do the pajama drives.
I love that.
But we really want that to catch on, because we think that in terms of that mentorship and that acknowledgement, if you can make it exciting and have their peers get excited about it,
Hmm.
more children will kind of join that, because we've seen statistically children that engage in philanthropic
Right.
endeavors tend to have better concepts of leadership, and
Mhm.
they seem to get more prepared for things like college and the interactions
Mhm.
with others. So we're trying to get more involved in that educational space and in
Mhm.
acknowledging the youth that are already out there doing it on their own, and they have no idea we're coming. They don't even know
Yeah.
we've heard of them.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
it's really nice, and seeing their parents light up that their child is getting
Yeah.
this acknowledgement is beautiful. Um, so that's just a handful of the ones that we
Mhm.
do. We're doing so many different things, and people are constantly reaching out with different ideas, and we're trying to make them cool and fun and interesting
Yeah.
and get people excited and want to be involved in these things.
Right. No, thank you so much for sharing. That's so heartwarming. It really warms my heart to see the kind of work that you're doing. And with the next question, I want to talk with you more about your opinion on like differing opinions and how we could work with that. So one of your core beliefs is that differing opinions, when utilized constructively, help societies to flourish. So why do you think this is especially important in today's world?
I think in today's world, we're finding this more difficult. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's hindering our ability to properly communicate with one another and to
Right.
have this idea of acceptance and what that actually means. I know it's kind of
Right.
a buzzword word right now, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to kind of pull back to growing up in the business world.
Okay.
I always noticed my parents surrounding themselves with very broadly different
Mm-hmm.
people.
Oh,
And it was always kind of interesting to me, because I was a little confused. I would be like,
mhm,
that person is kind of arguing about your idea.
mhm.
And I noticed that when you bring more people to your table to listen to,
Yeah.
they see things you don't.
Mhm.
They're able to kind of foresee potential issues, but also help you navigate your own thought process.
Right.
It enriches your stance, and you can actually learn where there might be hiccups in the stuff that you believe in. And this is
Mhm.
a good thing, because we have the elasticity of growth. We're
Mhm.
supposed to be an ever evolving
Right.
organism. And
Yeah.
if we don't allow ourselves to grow and we get kind of stuck in our way of being,
Mhm.
or we only surround ourselves with people that view things exactly how we do,
Yeah.
we could start to believe things that aren't accurate. And
Mhm.
just because somebody's view is different than yours,
Right.
it doesn't mean they're wrong, and it doesn't mean that you're wrong. And having this ability to kind of view things through another person's lens
Mhm.
gives you an opportunity to understand them, and
Mhm.
also gives you an opportunity to kind of negotiate with yourself.
Yeah.
But it gives you also this superpower of self control. And I love this,
Okay.
um, because if you can sit across from somebody who has a polarized opinion as yours,
Yeah.
and you can really listen to what it is they have to say, even if you're like, no, but
Mhm.
really listen to what they have to say, you're growing your own ability to be in a controlled space in yourself. You maintain a
Right.
calm, you think more clearly, you're not reactive, you're
Mhm.
receptive. And that can give you this great a power to become a sounding board for other people. People will be more honest with you and
Mhm.
trust you more. So I think that those differing opinions are
Mhm.
so valuable, and that allows us to
Yeah.
have critical thinking skills,
I love
that
that.
allows us to open up to different
Mhm.
communities. And it also gives us wonderful things like empathy and compassion. Empathy and
Yeah.
compassion is not just for people who agree with you.
Mhm.
Empathy and compassion should be also for the other people that you don't agree with. And that
Yeah.
self control and that understanding, you
Mhm.
really can become a better leader. So I love sitting across from
Right.
the table from people that I disagree with. Do we get into verbal altercations? Very gently, because I've
Right.
learned not to really engage aggressively in those things. But
Yeah.
I always walk away feeling better because I'm like, okay, I didn't react. I stayed
Mm-hmm.
calm. And I'll continue to think about those conversations, be like, well, you know what? I think they made a really valid point on this. And
Yeah.
then I can go back to that person and be like, hey, I know we don't agree, but that thing you said, you know what? Yeah, I can see where
I
you're
love
coming
that.
from. And you're able to have a bigger, better team. You're a better
Yeah.
global citizen. You're better at everything that you do. And you're able to make more friends.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able to not have panic attacks
Yeah.
when having to have a difficult
Right.
conversation, because you
Yeah.
have that self-control and that ability, but it doesn't happen overnight. It
Uh-huh.
needs to be tested and worked on, just like going to the
Mm-hmm.
gym. But I'm telling you, the more you do it, the better you feel about yourself, the more control you feel of yourself, and the
Yeah.
more willingness you have to listen to other people.
Right. No, thank you for sharing that. And I think that's so wonderful too. I think that's a beautiful approach. And, that hopefully we can start to heal if more people start to think that way. And I think, that's also how I view things as well. I feel like, as a society, I don't necessarily think we should strive to become like everyone think the same. We all do the same. Like there's really beauty in that diversity. But I feel like that's why I actually wanted to start this podcast. I felt like for me personally, I just felt like there was so much division, so much polarization, like people talking over each other, name calling and all that. And I'm like, we should just like start listening to each other. And, I think in these conversations, we can start to see where we do have the common ground. And of course, there still be those disagreements, but that's what I've loved about having conversations here too. Like people all over the political spectrum I've been in conversation with, but we find that, yeah, but we just, even though we might disagree politically, we still have this goal. We just want what's best for our communities. And, just, I wish that people would stop having like just all this division and really start to listen to each other.
I think there's this expectation of, if you
Uh-huh.
respect me, I'm going to respect you. And nobody
Right.
wants to be the first
Oh,
person
that's
to listen and
interesting.
respect.
Okay.
And the thing is, if you are the first person to listen
Mm-hmm.
and give respect, to
Right.
me, that again is a leader, and that is a person who has self control.
Uh-huh.
And you'll notice that other individual, in feeling
Mm-hmm.
seen and heard and not attacked, is more receptive to what it is
Okay.
you're feeling and what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be the person to do it first. And I think a lot of people view that as weak. Me, I think it's the polar opposite. I think
Right.
that's strong.
No, I
It's
agree.
strategic, and
Mm-hmm.
it's thoughtful for you to be the person to do that first.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, in my ability to, over the years, have grown,
Mm-hmm.
that I've learned more and been more respected
Right.
because I can do that. And a lot more people will bring me to their table
Mm-hmm.
that I don't necessarily agree with, but I am honored to take a seat at that table, listen, and give my 2 cents.
Yeah.
But in a way, you really have to work to earn that. And that
Yeah.
involves you listening and just being respectful. But I think that that's overcoming a lot of that idea of that being weak, or
Mm.
you're not sure of your own stance. I can tell you, most of the time I go to a meeting, I know what
Mhm.
my stance is, but I give myself that window and say, okay, I know this is how I feel about this, but
Mhm.
why not listen to everybody else? And
Yeah.
sometimes that changes. And I think, again, that's powerful to be able
Yeah.
to change.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. And next, I'd love to talk with you about the Humpty Dumpty Institute. So, through your leadership with Humpty Dumpty Institute, you've worked with governments, the United Nations, and young leaders around the world. So, what does cultural diplomacy mean to you?
Cultural diplomacy is human relation. And I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are going to be like, what do you mean? No,
Uh-huh.
diplomacy is political. No,
Uh-huh.
diplomacy is managing relationships.
Uh-huh.
Diplomacy is being strategic and thoughtful, empathetic, tactful,
Yeah.
all these great words. And teaching other individuals in high stakes conversations
Uh-huh.
to do that, you're
Mm-hmm.
an educator. You're one of those individuals that can kind of enlighten a room. And
Okay.
that's the group that I went to Africa with and
Okay.
eventually became an associate board member. And now
Mm-hmm.
I'm vice chair. And the reason for that is because, again, I will sit down at a table with anybody and hear the
I love
conversations
that.
and get people to have um, more complex ways of
Mm-hmm.
looking at things.
Right.
But also when we go to dinner, let everybody, relax and unbutton that top button and kind of just
Mm-hmm.
have time where we're not constantly kind of at each other.
Right.
But I've noticed in working with our leaders all around the world,
Mm-hmm.
as much as we see on social media, in the news, it's not as polarized. A
Okay.
lot of people in going into those rooms do listen.
Mm.
Not all, but most of them do. And
Yeah.
most of them really do want to find solutions to the issues around the world and are
Mm-hmm.
willing to come to that negotiating table. Most of them are incredibly diplomatic, hence
Uh-huh.
why they're diplomats. But there's this education stance you have to kind of keep doing. You have to
Mm-hmm.
make it so you can have them accomplish what it is they want to do. So you have to always make sure you have the right people in the right room
Uh-huh.
to be educating one another. But I've noticed that, again, Republican, Democrat, world
Yeah.
leaders, totally different outlook.
Mm-hmm.
We're all the same
Right.
when the camera's not on, the way we communicate
Mm.
with each other, the way we are outside of a lot of those um, kind of news articles,
Yeah.
we're still very human. And most people are still very much willing to listen to one another. So I
Yeah.
love working with HDI, Humpty Dumpty Institute, and trying
Mm-hmm.
to continue to facilitate those dialogues and educate the individuals who are the policymakers, because that's
Mm-hmm.
not for me. I
Yeah.
am not a policymaker, but I am an educator. And I
Okay.
like also to be educated.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you for sharing this. And with this next question, it'll be really helpful for me as well because, as I mentioned, I did a lot of work with different communities. I think particularly with California, and I feel like sometimes I could get so wrapped up in like just my little bubble or just trying to whatever issues that even if I just think about what's going on with the U.S. But sometimes I think, oh, I don't have the capacity to think more globally when I feel like there are areas where I can. So I'd love to hear from you that. How can ordinary people become better global citizens, even if they've never traveled abroad?
Exposure. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's that, again, that willingness to be exposed to the things that are around you. Not everybody can get on a plane and go to a different part of the world, but
Yeah.
so many of these cultures are everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about going, to these different areas in your local city or these different communities and seeing their festivals or their whatever it is that they're doing, or trying different food
Yeah.
or listening to different music, going to the opera. There's so
Mm-hmm.
many things that we can be doing that expose ourselves to things we don't know about.
I
And
love
that
that.
that does make us global citizens, because we have
Mm-hmm.
this willingness to open up to things that aren't our norm.
Right.
So that's a really big one. If you're not able to travel, obviously, I recommend to everybody. And I'm not saying travel and stay in your all inclusive hotel. It's not really going to give you
Right.
the cultural, local experiences. But I'm also not saying,
Mm-hmm.
hey, backpack through incredibly dangerous areas. No, be smart
Right.
about the things you do.
Yeah.
But I think a big thing also is fighting preconceived notions. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the internet fuels a lot of that. You'll see this country and all these preconceived notions about the country. I can tell you,
Mm-hmm.
every single country I've ever gone to,
Uh-huh.
I want to say 80% of my preconceived notions were wrong.
Mm.
And that's why now I don't. I just don't
Uh-huh.
have any kind of expectations, or I just get on a plane and go, whatever comes at me, I'm just going to soak it up and kind of learn about it. But I think that we have to stop even seeing travel influencers in different parts of the world and being like, that must be how that is over there, because that's also not accurate. A lot more, like, I was in Rwanda and I had this preconceived notion of how Rwanda was. Rwanda's infrastructure is so impressive, and I have never had better cell phone service in my life.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Their advancements in technology and their willingness to invest in advancement of technology is mind-blowing. And I just had this idea of how Rwanda was going to be, and it was nothing like how I thought it was going to be, or the videos that I saw. There are certain places that if you left the main city, that would be like a little bit more of what you would think. But I think, again, it's those generalized ideas and notions of how a culture is or how a place is. We have to just stop doing that. And if you really want to know, go into it with open arms and see. Taste the food, listen to the music, watch TV in that language or shows from that place. We have such access to things on a global level that we can start experimenting openly about what's going on around the world, but always take everything with a grain of salt, because again, the internet is not reality.
No, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And next, I'd love to talk with you about mental health, because actually I noticed that's been coming up with a lot of folks, with guests on my podcast, because a lot of us are like change makers, and it just, burnout and different things that come up with doing this kind of work. So you speak about mental health as a swinging pendulum in philanthropy and service work. So can you please explain what you mean by that?
Yeah. So I feel like people that go into any type of service, firefighters, police officers, military, charity work, you go into it and you'll end up helping somebody, and you get kind of this high. You're like, this is the best. I just want to help people. I saved somebody, or I made somebody feel really good. And you ride this high, and you're feeling awesome, like a superhero. And then you see more and more needs. You see more and more people suffering. You see more and more moments of people at their worst. And there are times you're not going to be able to help, because we are human and we're only capable of so much. So that pendulum starts to dip and swing the other way. And you start to get depressed and anxious and feel like, what am I doing? I'm worthless. All those kind of negative thoughts start to fill your head, and you hit a low. You completely doubt everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you do another program, or you meet another person that you're able to help, and it swings right back up, and you're like, again, I'm a rock star, and I can help everybody, and I can solve everything.
Yeah.
And then it starts back over, and it swings the other way. And I know the world as a whole really is struggling with our mental health for a variety of different reasons. But in those moments where that swing happens and you hit your low, I think it's super important to know yourself, to know those that you're doing that first, have that self-awareness, because that in and of itself can catch you from going too far, because you're aware that you're kind of hitting a low. But it's also knowing yourself and the things that make you feel better and pick you back up, and not having guilt if you disappear, or you shut off, or you say no to somebody, because that's kind of like putting your oxygen mask on first in a flight. That it's really necessary to do those self-care things to make sure you're capable of getting back up and going back to helping the world around you. But the self-awareness and that knowledge actually kind of, in my opinion, does tie into your openness to experience things, because you'll continue to learn things that pick you up, things you love, things that make you feel wonderful. And so you're constantly exploring those things that continue to pick you up. But I say to anybody who is trying to help people, you don't change the world. You change the world for one person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you have to remember every single thing that you do and hold on to that. Remember that one person that you helped over here and that other person that you helped over there, because hanging on to those reminds you that you are making things better and that you did change the world, even for a moment, for that person. So if it's keeping a journal, pictures, whatever it is, I can't tell you. I have a picture of me holding Comfort. Somebody I was on that trip with snapped it, and it is framed in my office, and I hang on to that constantly when my pendulum swings in the other direction. And I remember that one moment, and it makes me feel like, okay, time to, you've been sad for a while. That's okay. Let yourself, be sad. Let yourself be sad. That's okay. Just know when it's time to kind of get back out there and start over again.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I really love that too. And that's why I hope that people realize too that there's no act of kindness that's too small. Like anything really adds up. Like if you can imagine us all making these daily small acts of kindness every day, how we can really start to change the world. And, I think maybe that's why some people might get overwhelmed, like stepping into this kind of work, like empowering communities, whatever labels you might use. Like I use the word, social justice, but whatever terms people might use, they might like not know where to start or anything. But yeah, it's just like showing up. Like I tell people too, like just living your, sharing your lived experience, just being yourself is also like an act of resistance. So yeah, I hope that people realize that no matter where you come from, you can make a difference. You don't have to have a title or published a book or do anything really big to really make a difference in this world.
Small acts of kindness are everything to a person that's having a bad day, and you don't know who's having a really bad day. And I think that that's everybody. Everybody has the ability in their everyday life to do something nice, hold a door open, let somebody merge in traffic. Like just the smallest things can make a person's day a little bit better, and you're doing good things. You shouldn't feel bad about that. And the other thing for me is find your passion in getting into the world of social justice or philanthropy. Find that spark. So when you're feeling down, something that re-sparks you, no matter how many times you do it, you get excited about it again. And your faith is restored again, whatever that is. And I think rather than just saying, kind of like I did, hey, I want to save the world.
Yeah.
Finding one thing that makes you excited to help. And I think that will help you continue to kind of enter these worlds of helping people.
No, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And, thank you so much for your time today. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure that we also touch on this as well. But as a board member of Elmwood Park Zoo, you are deeply engaged in wildlife and environmental conservation. So how does protecting our planet also connect to social justice?
I think that's it's education of children. Because going to the zoo, they learn about things that they wouldn't really learn about other places. And it actually instills, in my opinion, that experience and empathy. You're able to make that connection, and children tend to first develop empathy in animals. That's been my experience and what I see. And they get very excited about these little creatures or big creatures that they want to protect and they want to fight for and they want to make things better for, and they learn about their impact. We do a lot of education around that zoo about our own carbon footprint and how we need to change some things to protect these animals. And then that encouragement and that flourishing of empathy and being around other children that are learning and engaging. It's a social atmosphere as well, where they don't even realize they're reading and they're learning. And I absolutely
Yeah.
love being a part of the Elmwood Park Zoo. And we do a lot of breed to release programs of endangered animals.
Mhm.
So the kids love to see the babies before they,
Oh.
not behind glass, obviously, and not interacting with them or anything, but also teaching them about these breed to release programs and how they can be a
Mhm.
part of solving a lot of these issues. It's empowering for them as well and making those empathetic connections.
Right. No, thank you for sharing. And, thank you again so much for your time. I learned so much from you during our time together today. But just as we're wrapping up, I'd love for you to just speak to our listeners directly and, just encourage them to, see ways that how they can show up wherever they're at. So, how can people begin supporting causes that they care about, whether through time, resources, or advocacy, or anything else that you could recommend?
Again, start with one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't overwhelm you. If it's I love teachers. I've had this great teacher that I love.
Okay.
I'm going to start to work on making sure the school that I went to has the proper school supplies. It's just finding something local that's not crazy out of your way, but that you're
I
also
love that.
passionate about. And then get creative with it. Have some fun. If you're a creative mind,
Mm-hmm.
you can be bringing these ideas to people like me that I didn't think of.
Uh-huh.
So you're the solution. You're the solution to a person's bad day. You're the solution to getting, it's not just you saying, here's a list of all the problems in the world. Hey, I got that list on
Right.
my desk too. It's
Right. Right.
here's some ideas, and you can be coming up with these ideas as you're cooking. You can be the solution to a problem,
Mm-hmm.
and then reaching out to local chapters that are doing something similar. There are so many people out there that are doing great things that could use a hand, and that could be
Right.
time. Maybe you don't have the time. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have something extra around the house that you can donate. That's great. Maybe you don't.
Yeah.
Then those ideas are gold. Those ideas are as good as money. And
Yeah.
just showing up for your community with what it is that you have, and don't ever feel bad for whatever it is you have. If you're
Mhm.
contributing, you are contributing, and nobody
Right.
can say otherwise. So find the
Mhm.
things you love, find what you have to give, and go to work and know what you're doing is helping.
Right. Thank you again. That's really wonderful to end on. But just lastly, how can people find you if they like to connect with you or learn more about your work and get involved?
We have an Instagram and a Facebook.
Okay.
It's the DeNicola Family Foundation.
Hmm.
If you message them, that's me.
Okay.
So if you end up messaging the DeNicola Family Foundation, that's me. If you have any
Okay.
great ideas or programs that are around, I'd love to hear from you. If you just want to follow me, I am also on Facebook and
Okay.
Instagram, and it's Morgan Sliker DeNicola. I have a hyphenated my marriage name.
Okay.
Um, but reach out, follow me. It's not
Yeah.
all just philanthropy. Sometimes it's a lot of me cooking or playing with my
I
animals.
love
I'm
that.
human. I am very human.
No,
So
I
feel
love
free to
that.
reach out.
Yeah, no, I gotta reach out to you about that too. It reminds me because actually I recently started a YouTube channel and I feel like it's just so much going on in the world. Like I don't want it to be just serious or heavy content. So yeah, actually I've
Mix
just
it
been
up.
doing videos of like me walking around different communities I'm going to, like Vegas was a big hit for people. And it's just like, that lighthearted, how can people find beauty in everyday life? So I've been playing around. So I just this silly like I guess jumping on the viral bandwagon of doing like this 6-7 video of a reflection of my daughter.
People
Yeah, but
love
people
it.
people need that like laughter and just lightness right now too. So that's what my YouTube channel looks all over the place right now.
Perfect. So does my Instagram. And you know what?
Okay,
I think it
wonderful.
humanizes us.
Yeah,
It's
no, I
not
think so
just the
too.
same thing all the time, or
Yeah.
because I know for a while when I started my own brand,
Mm,
about branding, and I was talking to my brand managers, and they were kind of laughing about it. And I was like, I will not lose me. it will still
I
be
get that.
the most random stuff in there.
Right.
I have to. That's who I am.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way because I keep hearing about you got to find your niche and then stick with it. But I'm like, that's
Yeah.
just not me. I'm such a random ADHD person. So I'm like, let me just be my authentic self. I'm doing it for me and also like for people too. But I'm like, I can't
Exactly.
just stick with one specific topic and like do like 100 clips on this one specific
On the
thing.
same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll see clips from my podcast
Okay.
and my travels randomly. And then
I love
randomly there
that.
will just be a picture of my dog
I
and
love that.
no rhyme or
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah. No, but thank you again. I had such a wonderful time talking with you. You do such beautiful and amazing work in this world. And I'm really grateful to be connected with you and hope that we could stay connected as well and even like share, see each
Absolutely.
other's stories and stuff. So, yeah, I hope that you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. And yeah,
Okay.
don't lose touch.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for being here and tuning in to Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community. Your presence in this movement matters. If today's conversation moved you, share it, talk about it, and keep the work going. Together, we're not just imagining change, we're making it. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and stay in the fight.
Every time I feel so mad and sad and bad, I say to myself, relax, lean back, it's a brand new day. And every time I feel so down that a frown is all that's on my face, I remind myself to take a breath, it's a brand new day.